day. Don't forget, part of the fun about Field Day is this is an opportunity for non-hams to be to get introduced to ham radio, the different facets of the hobby, and what we do both just in our free time when we're having fun and also during emergencies. And so this is an opportunity for us as a club to be able to put together a library of different topics and different presentations that will be available that we can blast out at different times throughout the year. But most specifically, depending on how many participants we have for the presentations, we will schedule that, at specific times throughout Field Day and have those posts automatically and blast out to everybody that has signed up for our social media channels and have signed up on our website and that kind of thing, so that they can participate even if they're not able to come down to our Field Day site and actually operate a radio. It's a great opportunity for us to get some coverage throughout our community so people know what we do, and a nice safe way for those that aren't feeling comfortable coming down to our Field Day site for them to also participate. I will be available to answer questions on how to record presentations. And also, if you sign up there, I am putting together a Zoom meeting for Wednesday night to be able to give some best practices and some other technology help so we can make this run as smoothly as we can. But just because you haven't learned how to record from your computer yet, please, if you have a presentation you're interested in, we will help you get it recorded and posted. So don't let that stop you. Just sign up or reach out to me or Craig and we'll get you going. Back to you, Greg.
All right. Since everybody's muted, you do have the ability to unmute. Are there any questions up to this point?
Greg, it's Chuck. I have a couple of questions. We are still planning on rolling the digital station, you know, with the rover and all of that, although I doubt that there's room over there for a whole bunch of gear. It is my understanding that the ARRL has made arrangements such that if we were to go somewhere and operate, we can include our scores in aggregate with yours.
Yes, and so what I'd like to do is defer your question, Chuck. Roy,
Sure.
as part of his presentation, will cover the ARRL rules and changes for this year and what that means to the club and those who would like to operate independently due to COVID-19 from a different location, whether that's from their home or out in the field as you're indicating. And so let's let Roy cover that as part of his presentation.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, do you know what your station call is going to be?
Roy, I'll let you answer that. I'm not sure if we have a call like we've done in other years, so I'm not sure.
Well, we always use K7 DAV when we operate as a club, but there's something that I need to clarify, which I don't know the answer to, and reading all the rules, I'm trying to get an answer from the ARRL. With the guys, I'm not going to be operating because I've had cancer recent enough, so I'm kind of trying to be careful. But we'll go through the rules of that. But if the War Wagon operates as like a 1 Alpha or something like that with the club call sign, I just need to find out if we can still include everybody else's. The idea is not that you aggregate points, but you just aggregate everybody's call signs and show the participating. So it's not.
Well, yeah, Roy, the reason I brought it up is I thought I saw a change to that where we can operate remotely and then under our own call sign, and they do aggregate the points together under the overall club call. So I guess we need to clarify that.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about aggregating points. So anyway,
I think that was our understanding down here in Mesquite as well, is that we would come under the umbrella of our club call. So you would be something K7 DAV 1 Alpha Utah, and but I think the operators would be K7 or their call sign 1 Delta Utah, and then you aggregate them in. That was my understanding, but that could be incorrect.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
clarification.
Go
So
ahead.
the ARRL on their latest newsletter had some FAQs that they addressed that on. And so I would refer you to that. I think they'll clear some of that up because they were talking about just that thing. So
Perfect.
I've got some comments that I read. Basically, you operate under your own call sign as is proper and under the station classification that you are, whether you're at home, emergency power, etc. Somewhere within the log, and I didn't catch where that is, then you would specify the club that you're aggregating to, and they'll find that and put it together.
Great. Real quick, Joan, I sent you a text. If you'll just take a quick glance at that, it's in regards to Aries, and then just send me a response back. With that, let's jump over to Roy. Roy, let me stop my sharing, and you should be able to just take over. There's a little green button on the bottom of your screen that says share your screen. You can pick which one if you have more than one or which one you want, and we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Say what? Okay.
It does. I do have a green button, but then it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
All right. Why does it have to be difficult? And your name disappeared, so let me find you in.
As long as he's talking, he seems to have the big picture.
Yeah, share your screen. Anyway, you're host now. See if that'll work.
Can I make a comment?
There we go.
Yeah, go ahead, Joan.
I didn't get a text, but anyway, on Saturday, I was planning on setting up a table and doing a little N-beams demonstration and also staging a little mock event exercise because we have some new people that would like to help with events, but they've never done it. So I thought I'd just stage a little exercise and teach people how to use tactical calls. You know, nothing real elaborate, just a little exercise. And I'll send out emails to everybody. So if they want to participate, they certainly can. That's all. Back to Roy.
So
That's
Roy,
great.
what I'm seeing as far as your screen share is just videos of everybody.
Oh, really?
It looking good here at D&D's place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got it.
Fine.
Okay.
I can see the slideshow at my place.
Yep,
I
I see
can
it now.
too.
Thanks.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I'm seeing the slideshow, and then there's a right vertical column that has everybody's pictures, so I can see you guys and wave. Okay, great. Again, you guys, you know, I think Field Day is all about adaptation. You know, adapting to because it's meant to be really an emergency exercise to communicate every year. Last year, for those of you who probably know, there was so much snow up at Monte Cristo that we went out west of Roy and set up at a city municipality building and used their parking lot and you know, adapted to that environment, and it worked out fine. This year, with this crazy virus that we're all having to deal with, and you know, usually I act as Field Day chairman, and I'm so grateful to Craig and Larry, those guys, because they've picked up the ball and they're going to make something happen with the War Wagon. And so anyway, I'm going to talk more about that at the end of my presentation, about things that you can do and a couple of the changes. I had talked to the ARRL about a month ago, and they said we don't anticipate any adjustments to the rules, but then towards the end of May, they actually sent out a couple of adjustments which make this really fun. So we might have some tremendous points associated with our participation. So anyway, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this slideshow. There may be some of you who are not familiar with Field Day. Probably most of you have, but we have a lot of new hams. And so we'll talk about Field Day, what it is. We'll show some pictures from last year. We'll show some historical pictures kind of mixed in as well. And then at the end, we'll talk about the adjustment to the rules and what opportunities that brings to everybody. Okay, so, and a lot of people, I do reuse some slides. I try not to do too much, but Field Day is a great, way to do something out in the field, to go camping with our friends and family and make it an outing. And since we're social distancing a lot and most of us are doing stuff mostly with just our families, it's a great way to do something together. And I'll share at the end of this what I'm doing in my personal situation when I'm trying to be a little more careful. It's really an exercise. I don't know if I'd call it a pure contest, but there are points that are taken based upon contacts, how many contacts you're making, what type of contacts you're making, what type of station you're running, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along, and participation from people. So it's a great exercise. And I will correct one thing. Actually, Field Day really starts on the Friday. And so actually you can start setting up at noon on Friday, and you have 24 hours to get everything ready so that you can start contesting or transmitting at noon on Saturday. So it's really a 3-day event. It is, it is important for us to do this, to practice setting things up and transmitting and working together as a team. And part of it is setting up different types of communication, as well as maybe not being in ideal conditions. So just like some of the club leaders like Larry and Craig and Greg, they're adapting this year and providing other types of things on Zoom and at the War Wagon and different kinds of things. We're adapting to what we can do to make this a fun year, even though it's not our traditional way of doing it. So I hate the phrase social distancing. I hope that we can delete those two words out of our vocabulary at some point in our lives. It's probably not going to happen anyway, but we can do, things as individuals or with our families or with small groups. We can think of different opportunities. It's a great way to do some self-preparation to see, where am I at with my radios, with my communications. I had Greg Lindell recently do some antenna configuring on my truck, and I've lived in my new house for 3.5 years, and during my evenings I've finally got my antennas all set up. And so it's a great time to just kind of look at yourself and what's your preparation. Okay, what might you learn? Well, here's some historic photos. How to set up things in less than ideal circumstances. So wherever you are, I've talked to several people that usually participate in our Field Day exercise, and they're doing all kinds of different things. There's several people that are doing it at their homes. So they're having to adapt and do some different things with their stations. Some people are going camping, going out in the West Desert. They're getting away from, the cosmopolitan city and going out and setting up stations. So there's lots of different things you can do. So last year, boy, I'm having a brain thing, but we went to, what's the name of the city again? Anybody know?
Hooper, I believe.
Hooper. Gosh, I just couldn't remember that. So the city of Hooper, I think I'm saying that right. It's not Hooper, but it's Hooper. They allowed us to set up in the parking lot of their city building. And it actually worked out pretty well. You know, it's not a place I'd want to go every year, but it worked out pretty well. There were some big trees to the east and west of the parking lot that we were able to utilize and string dipoles and various antennas. It was easily accessible to club members. And so we had quite a few people that would come and leave, and you know, the dedicated people would stay the whole time. So it was a fun activity. And again, you'll see people as they're setting up, everybody chimes in, and we'll want that too for this Centerville one where we're going to set up. So, you know, bring your mask and your gloves and help set up. It's a lot of fun. So what do you need to bring to a field day? Well, I would say everything, and maybe the kitchen sink too. It's funny as hams, everybody that I know, if I ever get to a field day and I'm missing a particular connector or some soldering stuff, you can just ask around and everybody's got just about the same thing, or somebody has it. And so we're kind of pack rats that way, I think, as hams. We try and organize our stuff, but we also bring a lot of stuff because you just never know when you're having an emergency what kind of things you're going to need. And so we adapt. So again, these are just some pictures from last year. We're setting up the beam antenna. A beam, for those of you who are new to ham, is a directional antenna. And so we actually have a big tower that is portable that we set that up on. So if you see that little trailer there in front of us, we can rotate a tower that I think it comes up in 3 sections, fairly tall. And then it has a rotator, a manual rotator on the top, and you can point that directional beam in the direction you want to go. So if you want to shoot east for a while, you can do that, and then you can rotate it and shoot it towards the southeast or California, whatever you want to do. And it's a old antenna, but it's a favorite. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's had tweaks done to it and repairs, but it operates very well, and it's a very powerful antenna. Again, you'll see Gary with the bot here. He came out and set up his trailer running totally off solar. I'm going to talk about something I'm going to do at the end of my presentation. And you get extra points for operating, you know, with other types of power like solar or wind or things like that. Again, this is just the parking lot. This is before we're all set up, but we have several people here that are set up. And then, as was mentioned, we will have, when the war wagon is set up, I'm assuming we'll have these banners out as well. We want to get the word out to everybody in the community about ham radio, about how great a hobby it is and what we do for the community in emergency communications. It's really neat that I have seen so many new members come into our club, and so that we can keep things fresh and new blood, and there's always things for people to do. So where are you going to have your field day? At home, in a field, in the mountains, with others in a small group like at the War Wagon, or you get together with a few other people? You decide what you're going to do. So again, this is just some more setup pictures from last year. Last year we ran 3 alpha, I believe. And 3 alpha means that we ran 3 stations, and A is for a club. And basically what we usually do when we deploy out is we will set up, we'll have the beam antenna, we'll have a station in the war wagon, we'll have another station in another trailer, and we'll have usually some dipole wire antennas with that, a couple of different types of that. And then we also do GOTA. GOTA is get on the air. And so I don't know if we're going to do GOTA. It sounds like we are going to try and do some type of GOTA because we're going to include people that are not hams. But you can actually have a separate station that is GOTA, and you get lots of points for it by having people who are not hams or infrequent hams operate on it. Again, we do lots of different classes. Chuck does a lot of digital. I like digital myself too. I'll probably be doing digital quite a bit from my home. And again, burning the midnight oil. It'll be interesting to find out. I think after this exercise is over, we would love to get feedback from everybody that participated. So we're encouraging everybody not only to participate at the War Wagon, but if you can't do that, or even if you do that, to also operate on your own and send us some information about what your station was like. How did you operate? And, you know, how many points did you get? How many contacts did you get? So it's going to be a very, very interesting year. And I don't know. I'll have to ask if the management, if we are bringing a porta potty or if there's a potty around. But
We will be bringing that down there just to make sure it's available.
all right. This is up at Monte Cristo, just some historical photos. We oftentimes have used tents for GOTA. And there's Chuck in his cruiser machine. And I'll miss this year. One of the fun things we usually do, which hopefully we'll get back into that next year, is we usually watch Friday and Saturday nights movies, and I pop popcorn for everybody. So who needs to participate? Everybody, your families, everybody should participate in this. Here's some hardcore operators. It looks like we've got Lou and let's see who's in the middle there. Anybody recognize?
I believe that's Brent.
And there's Brent, and there's Brent. So these guys are operating.
Bill Moyes.
Bill Moyes, and these are hardcore. So like Lou, Brent, Bill Moyes, and others do CW, and we get lots of points from that as well. It's hopefully not a dying art. And then we do a lot of voice. This is in the bot. Here's GOTA. And we've had some success with, I don't have a picture with Rasmussen, Brandon Rasmussen in here, but he actually 2 years ago got a satellite contact which gave us 100 points for one satellite contact. That's like making 100 voice contacts. Again, we like to include all the family. We usually do some teaching moments, and Hall has done those teaching moments for as many years as I can remember in a row. This was a year ago, I believe. No, 2 years ago. It's all about working together and cooperation. We usually, normally when we set up a normal 3-station configuration, it will take us 3 or 4 hours to set the initial configuration up. And then on Sunday, as soon as noon hits and we're done, usually we can, in less than an hour, we can get everything busted down with everybody working together. We also normally, on a normal year, we will have, especially at our barbecue dinner, we will have 50 to 75 people show up. Johnny Biggs was talking to me about maybe operating at the top of the church office building, possibly. Another teaching moment by Hall. And this was, I can't remember what Hall taught us last year, but we had a teaching moment in the parking lot. And I think he went over a couple of things. Okay, everybody listen up now. Here are the changes that came out from the ARRL. Okay, so they adopted, the Public Programs and Services Committee adopted 2 temporary rule waivers for the event. For Field Day 2020 only, Class D stations may work all other Field Day stations, including other Class D stations. So a Class D station is like a home station. That's what I'm going to operate, including stations operating from permanent or licensed station locations using commercial power. Class D stations ordinarily may only count contacts made with Class A, B, C, E, and F Field Day stations. So that would be, so like if Lou or Gary Johnson or Paul or any of these people are operating from home, that would mean that I could contact them and I could count that as a contact. Okay, and so any of those would be counted as QSOs. Okay, in addition, here's rule number 2 for this year only. An aggregate, okay, so this answers the question the other people had. An aggregate club score will be published, which will be the sum of all individual entries indicating a specific club, similar to the aggregate score totals used in the ARRL affiliate club competitions. So when you submit your points to the ARRL, you will specify that even though you're going to be using your call sign and whatever your operating thing is. So like for me, I'm going to be, we're operating a Class D at home and I'm going to be running on solar power. I'm going to be doing KF4 USN will be my operation call sign. But when you submit your points, you'll be doing it associated with our club, which is K7DAV. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, Roy, this is Dan. Got a question about rule number 1. If on field day, I call you, I count that as a contact. Do you count it as a contact, or do you have to call me in order to get a contact point?
Well, I mean, just like normal operating procedures, sometimes you will be receiving contacts, right? You're going to be out there and somebody will be calling CQ, 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 and maybe they initiate it. But if you establish a contact with them, my understanding is that you could count that as a contact. So you each would count it as a contact.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know how they're going to handle dupes, you know. Normally, you know, K7DAV could only have one contact with KF4USN, right? So I'm not sure. I didn't see anything in their adjusted rules how they're going to handle dupes on that kind of thing.
Wouldn't that be on each band?
Maybe, but like Hall, I think the question I don't know how they're going to handle it is, which I'll send them an email about it and let you know what they say. But if I make a call to you, Hall, on 20 meters, and you count KF4USN and I count you, so that's 2 contacts, right? But we're talking to each other. I don't know how they're going to aggregate those points. My guess is that they will probably be very lenient and just kind of add up all the points.
Yeah, typically we've been able to get contacts with the same individual on different bands. So yeah. Each counts as contacts. So
yeah,
that was my question.
Yeah, I'll get some clarification on it because there's nothing in the rules about that. Okay, so it says ordinarily club names are only published in the results for Class A and Class F entries, but the temporary rule waiver for 2020 allows participants from any class to optionally include a single club name with their submitted results following field day. For example, and they give an example here, and I already gave an example. I could call somebody else and in their club or whatever and include that contact in there. Okay, as this is one of the biggest events in amateur radio with over 36,000 participants in 2019, including entries from 3,113 radio clubs and emergency operations centers. In most years, Field Day is also the largest annual demonstration of ham radio because many radio clubs organize their participation in public places such as parks and schools, like what we're going to do. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many radio clubs have made decisions to cancel their group participation. So we're doing kind of a hybrid, right? We're still going to do some club participation and individual participation. And fortunately, the temporary rule waivers allow greater flexibility in recognizing the value of individual and club participation, regardless of entry class. The ARRL is contacting logging program developers about the temporary rule waivers so developers can release updated versions of their software prior to the field day weekend. Has anybody heard of anybody that's any one of the logging programs that's ready for this?
I just actually went up on the site that sells the software that we traditionally use, and they've accommodated those changes. Roy, I just bought a copy for my purposes. So
what is that, Charles? It's FJ. What is it?
Give me just a second. I'll pull up the email.
FJ3 something.
It's Affirmatech is the company, and it's
N3FJP.
There you go. Thank you.
N3FJP. Okay. I think we've used that one a lot.
That's all we've ever used that I've seen.
Okay. Roy, this is Dan again, another question. Since I'm a confirmed newbie on this, never have been in a field day. If I operate as Class D from my home station, I've only got a dual band fusion rig. I've got 2 meter, 70 centimeter and fusion. I assume that fusion is not a legitimate band for field day because it's digital proprietary, but can I make contacts with either my 2 meter or my 70 centimeter and be considered part of field day?
You can. 2 meter and 440 is in the recognized band ranges. And down here in the valley, you actually might get quite a few contacts with that.
Okay.
Normally with field day, we focus on the distance, the DX stuff. But I would think, yeah, I would think you'd probably have better luck down in the valley here because there's going to be so many people operating at home or, you know, locally here. And so you'll probably get some contacts. Any recommendations from you guys as to what frequency, like on 2 meter, would you you know, scan around, I don't know, 4 something, 147, 4 something, or anybody have any suggestions?
This is Rick, W7VQ. Just as a piece of information, one of the things that we did on winter field day when I was out on Antelope Island with the Davis County or with the Utah DX Association is we just went to the calling frequencies on 2 meters, 40 centimeters, and 6 meters and looked for people that were out there. So if you go to the calling frequencies for each of those bands, you may find somebody that's monitoring those.
Okay. All right. And so, Dan, you can look that up on the web on ARRL, what those calling frequencies are. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but.
I've got them programmed in both of my rigs.
Okay, there you go. I'll try and contact you too, because I'll be operating 3 different radios, but you know, just one at a time. And that's totally legit to do that.
And don't forget, there's a lot of link systems. So the Snowbird link would be a good place to go if you want to get a lot of contacts quickly, as well as a few repeaters that are available.
You mean like the intertie?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's just, I'm just going to go over, if you're welcome to go to ARRL and look at the field day rules, but I just pulled out a few of them that have to do with kind of individual operating stations. So there's a Class B 1 or 2 person portable. The field day station set up and operated by no more than 2 persons. Other provisions are the same for Class A, except it's not eligible for GOTA or your free VHF station. 1 and 2 person Class B entries will be listed separately. And then you have Class B battery, 1 or 2 person portable. And again, all contacts must be made using an output power of 5 watts or less, and the power source must be something other than commercial mains or motor-driven generator. Okay, battery entries will be listed separately. There's a Class D home station. Stations operating from permanent or licensed station locations using commercial power. Okay, and then we've already talked about the temporary rule waiver, and so I'm going to operate as a Class E. Okay, so I have a home station. I actually have solar panels on my house, but that power goes back into the grid, and then I buy power from the local power suppliers. And so what I'm going to do is I have some portable solar panels that I'm just going to set up in my backyard, lean them against a fence, and I've got some batteries. I'm going to have a controller go to my batteries. I'm going to put an inverter off of the batteries, and then I'm going to run a power cable, just a cord, up into my ham shack where I am right now, and I'm going to power my laptops and my radios off of that so that I can qualify as a home station with emergency power. Does that make anybody have any questions on that? And so, you know, like if I were to say, well, I'll just put a battery charger on those batteries and run off the batteries, that wouldn't be legit. you know, because that would be taking commercial mains, using power from commercial mains to charge my batteries. So I'm going to be totally separated. Even though I'll be here, I have commercial power available, I'll be totally running off of my solar panels. Okay. But the benefit of doing that is you can claim a power multiplier of 5. Okay, so I can multiply 5 on every contact that I have. So that's going to be a big advantage for me and anybody else that wants to do that as well. Okay, so just to explain the agenda, you can start setting up your station if you need to do something to set it up on the 26th, Friday at noon. And you can set up all that stuff, get it all ready to go, all tuned in, so that on Saturday at noon, you can start transmitting. And then you'll run 24 hours. And if you're a night owl and you can stay up all night, you can operate all night long till Sunday at 12 o'clock. And then you'll stop. And then you'll save your logs and get them ready to submit to the ARRL. Larry and Craig, I'm just kind of wondering if we could put something on the website and just a place that people, or an email link or something, and if people could send us a copy of their submission, I would like to see it. I think it'd be really awesome. Anybody that's willing to do that. Okay, so it's going to be way different this year, everybody, and I encourage everybody to do something, whether it's go participate with the War Wagon and the club that way, or do something on your own. So this will be the year that you can really have some flexibility to do whatever you want. And then hopefully everything will settle down and we can get together as a group next year. Any questions? Doesn't sound like it. Okay, Greg, do you want me to give you back the baton?
Yep, if you'll send it back over to me. And I'll pull up the actual location real fast just so we can see it.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Is there something I need to do to make you host again?
Do you see my name? If you'll right click on that and then make me the host.
Oh, right there. Boom. You got it.
Let's see, where'd that go? All right, get a few things out of the way. You should be able to see what that parking lot looks like. So again, it's across from the Arctic Circle, 1131 South Main Street in Centerville. So just barely north of Bountiful, and we'll be in this back section. The thought was to put the War Wagon up here towards the top left corner of that parking lot, and there'll be plenty of room in there to operate. So, any questions on field day? All right, Joan, would you want to take just a minute on the ARRL activity you're planning the Thursday before field day?
Okay. So what that is just a regular check-in with the net. Only we're asking everybody to go somewhere and set up either a mobile radio, a handheld with a mag mount antenna or some sort of a little J-pole portable antenna so that you can see how we communicate from the field. And if someone cannot leave their home for some reason or nervous or whatever, just go to the backyard or the front yard and just set something up and see how we can communicate. And it'll be just our regular check-ins. And Gary, M7DND, will be at control. He will also be in the field. So we'll just ask everybody to go somewhere and then tell us where they are and then check in. And of course, we might need to do some backups and have some people do some relays, but hopefully it'll work out pretty good and it's a good practice for field day. That's about it.
Joan, this is Dan. Do you have a planned time for this exercise for those of us who can't be online throughout the day?
That's for Thursday night. On Saturday, I'm thinking of doing it early in the morning, like maybe 9 o'clock, do a little exercise, and maybe we can recruit some help for setting up for field day. Any other questions?
Gary has his hand up.
Go ahead.
I wanted to let everybody know that I'll be net control that Thursday night, and I will be setting up and be ready at 8 o'clock. That anybody wants to test their equipment for that half an hour, I'll be there to test with you from my location by the police station here in Bountiful. So anybody that wants to test, I'll be there to test with you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Will we still be doing the mass chat check-ins as well?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay.
Question.
Go ahead with the question.
Yes. Could we use this as an opportunity for possible HF check-ins?
I would have to bring my buddy pole and an HF rig to do that if you want to.
It would be a great opportunity to expand our capabilities to see if our equipment's in order for that.
Well, you'd have to almost be on 80 meters if you're going to do that, since we're so close in.
Oh, would you be interested in participating in something like that?
Joe, maybe Joe would be willing to go at 8 o'clock and maybe check in with some people. If I don't want to, volunteer you, Joe, but if you want to check in with some people at 8 o'clock on maybe 80 meters, 31, what is it, 3149, or what is the Aries frequency? 3120?
3920 is
3920.
Racy's. Is that Thursday night?
Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and you could check their HF out if you would.
Sure.
And then I'll just work on UHF and VHF.
Yeah, I can do that. It's not a problem.
There you go. Any other questions? All right. We want to thank Roy for his presentation and giving us the overview of Field Day. We recognize it's an interesting year, and so for those who want to participate at home, please do. Those who want to participate as part of the club there with the War Wagon, please watch the website. Also, Larry will be sending out some email updates. We don't want to flood your box, but there will be some updates and links so that you can sign up. We really need people to sign that volunteer sheet so we know schedule-wise when it will be available, and then people can also, we'll publish those so people know that when it will be open and they can come and participate. So please watch for those in the next week and a half. Any last comments before we close our club meeting?
So I have one. There will be pizza Saturday night at 6 o'clock. It will be Little Caesars pizza. So if you are a connoisseur, you may not, you might want to pick something else, but there will be pizza. And we will figure out a way that you could send your ARRL submissions on cardboard on the website, so we can copy the and have our own report and figure out how we did. So we'll have that on the website as well.
All right, so a lot of information will show up on the webpage over the next couple weeks. Reminder that in July, we don't have a club meeting. Usually there's quite a few events that we participate in, but those have all dried up this year based on this pandemic. August, we are still looking at doing our club picnic, correct, Gary? And we'll just watch and see what happens. It is outdoors, and I suspect as long as we stay yellow, we'll be fine to have that. Additional information, we will put that out as announcements on Thursday night's net. So feel free to continue to check in there and listen for club news. That's a great place to get it. And then also watch the club webpage. The next scheduled club meeting, as it were, will be in September. Well, the September will be our, what's it called, Gary?
It's our club swap meet. It's on the third Saturday. It is in the Bountiful Bowery. There should be no problems there. I actually went to a meeting this morning with the councilman and stuff, and they're up to 1,000 people that can meet together now. So that's all good. The concerts are on and everything here in Bountiful. So things are good. There, we are going to have an Elmer's, isn't that right, Craig? We're going to have an Elmer Fest in August on the second Saturday. It'll be where it was last year, right there by the library in Centerville behind Home Depot. And we are planning on, we should be able to have 25 or 30 people there with everything from hotspots to HF to help anybody that wants to play.
Correct.
You said something, Rick?
Oh, no, I didn't. I just cleared my throat. I apologize.
Back to you, Greg.
All righty. So those are our upcoming events, meaning hopefully in October, we'll be able to get back face-to-face. That's the plan, unless things change based on where they're at. So with that, any last comments before we close our club meeting?
This is Rick. I just wanted clarification because I know that you've got the sign-up sheet that you're looking for when people want to operate from the setup at Centerville. But I'm assuming that when you're not operating there, you can still go back and operate from your home station with whatever class you want to be set up. And that's going to not be a problem.
That is correct.
That's what I thought. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So we're just trying to get the sign-up sheet so we know how many people, if nobody signs up, then we're not going to drag the war wagon down there. Be nice to know during the day based on call signs and the license type, what we can actually do with the war wagon. So that's the reason for the sign up. We want participation. I think we'll have quite a few who will want to come down there because they don't have their own equipment. So this will make it available for people to operate on. We'll have to make sure we have cleaning supplies and some of those. So Paul will get with you, how do we clean everything in between users? And those will be something that we will be looking at as well. All right, well, we appreciate the participation today. Everybody have a great Saturday, and we'll be listening for you on the repeaters.
Question.
Go ahead.
Are we going to have a GOTA station there?
I think that was the plan if we have enough signed up. Am I correct with that, Craig?
We'll have 2 radios. So I'm not sure I understood the question.
Have a GOTA station.
I can bring another HF rig if we need to try to put one on if we've got enough people.
Okay, so let's look and see the participation on the sign up, and then that will drive the GOTA station as well.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
One final question on the sign up. I don't plan on being at the Centerville station. Like I said, we're going to be out somewhere else, but do you still want us to give an indication on the sign up that that's what we're going to be doing? So you have some kind of idea who's doing what?
No, what we want on the sign up is those who can actually be at the meeting. So that we, as Roy had indicated, we certainly want your stats back. Please send us a follow-up email once the field day is over so we can get those statistics and see what they look like and let us know how things go. And we'll be happy to share those around the club. But the sign up will be for those who can participate at the war wagon.
Okay.
Thank you, Chuck. Any other questions?
One last question.
Where's the sign-up sheet at on the website, or?
You will get an email today, and then we'll also make it available right on the front page with some links. So those will be out this afternoon.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
One last question.
I doubt it, but go ahead.
I doubt it, yeah. Since Alan Malin's on here with us, I see his unsmiling face. There was a document that came to me, an email about the auto patch. Do you want, Alan, do you want to address that, or can Greg, you address that, or I'll be more than happy to say what I'd sent back to the gentleman.
Good, Alan. I'm not seeing Alan on. Oh, there he is. You'll have to unmute, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am vaguely aware just because Gary mentioned something to me, somebody asking about the auto patch, but that's about all I know. We haven't had the auto patch for a very long time, and we don't anticipate ever having it again. That's kind of the gist of it.
I can comment.
Go ahead.
The auto patch equipment that's at the sheriff's office adjacent to the sheriff's PBX is turned off. The antenna has been removed, and so it's the auto patch for all intents and purposes is no more. And as Alan indicated, there's the controller at the that would allow the auto patch to operate from the hill is no longer in service. So yeah, it's a dead issue.
All right. That's pretty definite. Any other questions? Because I know that Gary said there's only one final one. I see Roy has his hand up. Go ahead with the final question.
Besides sending your points into the club from your operation, I would really love it if all of you could, you know, I really hate taking selfies of myself, but please take selfies, or have your wife or significant other, or take pictures of your operating station that you're going to do this year. I think it would be really fun to have kind of a montage of 2020 field day on the website with just everybody's operating stations, how they operated, you know. So please take, I know if you're like me, I hate taking pictures of myself, but please take some pictures and send those in.
Perfect.
I've got a question that I don't quite follow about logging. If we're operating an individual station, is it Delta or Echo station, do we have to purchase the logging software that the club is using? What's the logging format?
No, you would just, you're not submitting your logs to us to be credit for ARRL. You're still going to submit those straight to the ARRL. We just would like a summary, like the summary page of whatever your ending points are, just for our information purposes.
Oh, the software is free if you keep it below like 60 queues. So if you want to just putter around and do that, it's fine. It's really valuable because it checks for duplicates and all that sort of thing. But you can log by paper, you know, it's just a little more complicated.
The full-blown field day program is only like about $9 anyway, so it's not like
it's $9. But if you keep it under 60, it's free. So
actually it's 30.
Oh, is it 30? Okay.
I was just on the site. That's the only reason I know it all too.
Was that 30 people or
30 QSOs.
30 contacts?
QSOs.
30 QSOs.
Yeah.
Oh, 30 QSOs.
So Hall, like myself, I'm gonna renew my subscription with it, which is cheap, and then I'm gonna operate as one Echo, okay? There's one station, and I'm gonna be, you know, operating at home, which is one Echo, so one Echo, you know.
One Echo is home on emergency power, correct?
That's right. And so I'm going to be operating off solar panels. So it'll be 1 Echo KF4 USN. I will be using my call sign, but when I submit my logs, it'll be associated with K7 DAV.
With the way this year is going, it'll probably snow.
Okay, since I generally never operate, this question regarding the logging was one for kind of general interest, but maybe post the site where people can access a copy of the log software.
And I think there's some other ones as well. Like, can't you use eqsl.cc?
I'm not familiar with logging. I never write anything down.
Yeah, we'll get it posted.
Okay, thanks.
Larry's still on here. Larry, can you get that and get it posted to the main page?
Yeah, we basically just about any logging program is usable for submission on this. Because everyone I've seen will export out into the format that the league wants. So I mean, it really is just about anything out there. But I'll post this one that the club typically uses up there too.
That will work.
Now on these logs, got to be a little bit careful here, because one of the things that's critical when you submit your logs is that they understand that you want to have your scores, contacts, whatever, aggregated with K7 DAV. So don't forget that part, regardless of how you log it. I do know that the software that we've been talking about that the club traditionally uses for this year has facilities for doing that. So
perfect. I do see a question on the chat. Roy, if you're good with it, we did record this. Are you good if we just publish this onto the club webpage?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. So David, we'll get this published, then you'll be able to see those slides. Ed,
is somebody going to answer the one who can contact to check membership status? That was
check with Gary or Larry.
Okay, as long as somebody answers him.
Thank you. Ed, you had a hand up. You'll have to unmute. All right, any other questions?